First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. Um, it, it is amazing the things that I'm witnessing as bad things are getting for me. The psychological torture is still tormenting, but that's what I expect at this point. This is how they're gonna torment me, and I continuously make these videos because this is what's gonna happen. I know that they're gonna attack my mind in these disgusting ways, and then they're gonna do this noise campaign that's supposed to gaslight me. As you can see, I'm aware of the reality I'm in, but the reason why I say thank you, God, is as so much have been trying to paint themselves in such a way, there's no way to cover that up. When I hear these perps trying to play the game, that what they're part of is not deserving of the horror that they're part of, it's comical. They really think they can recur reality, and they're expecting me to let them play that fantasized reality. Listen, today, as a target individual, as a TI who makes many videos about what's happening to me, this is something for me to maintain strength. I was on a call, it almost got me so enraged. Because in life, sometimes everything is in front of you to show you what it is. And the truth is, I've been praying for that. I used to pray a lot more and I haven't prayed. But it seems like my prayers have been answered one way or another. One of my prayers was, God, don't allow this clown to live this fantasy. Unmask them and make sure that they see themselves for the real trash that they are, not the fantasized reality. I know some people have a way to cope with the reality by recreating reality. It's a way to design a false reality to survive the reality they're part of. And in this case, it's not a reality that was forced onto them. They chose that because they were opportunists. And it's more apparent in regard of who employ me, which are some of the biggest gaslighter. But you clearly understand that I know this evil that I'm putting is an evil that has done on it, that is doing, and I'm not using past tense. Is something that's happening in real time, and I'm very aware of. And as I make these videos, I love to be like, this is the people. I'm not gonna show the picture of these people yet, because I'm waiting for me to not be employed currently. But who employ me? It's funny how they, first of all, this current employer, I've been employed since, I'm not gonna say the year, but they know I'm making these videos for a while. But after the fact that I was already a target individual and I was aware of being a target individual, and I was already making videos about being a target individual, and I think the purpose of the employment was just to participate and benefit from that, but also to try to erase who destroyed me. I detest this entitlement that they have, thinking that they can recreate reality and expect the target individual to be idiots. And it's funny how for them it's just like, oh, we've proved that we don't do that. Not only you prove you do that, you prove that you are actually harming some of the most vulnerable. And I love to put that in their faces. For me, I've accepted that every time they want me to have an experience that's degrading, they will make me have that experience. And then you're going to hear the noise campaign that you hear. And then try to make me rationalize this clear alteration of my mind that make me experience this and gaslight me. But people who you clearly see why they'll be so compromisable, that you clearly know that they have these convenient ways of viewing reality, which is convenient for them, convenient in a way that they want to participate in a way where they're just some justice seekers. I'll just, and it's this coworker of mine who's so delusional, who I find pleasure to put reality in her face, because I think she got away in life with recreating reality based on how she wanted to view reality. And I try to do it in the most polite way, by hitting where it hurts with the reality. And I understand that whoever destroyed my life, which is not this current employer, put me in something where I will never gonna be myself again. It's okay. I've asked God to give me the strength to endure these disgusting tortures, from the psychological to physical aspect of it all. But it's not okay for me to let these people think that they even got a chance to think that I'm going to subscribe to that. I even captured the level of this connection from reality. Sometimes I can't even believe how magical it gets, because I record how these people act and behave, and can behave this way in front of me, recreate reality in things that shows that, listen, these people are capable of making up things to that level. I can record them saying these things. They even know they're being recorded. If they're capable, listen, nobody is perfect. We all can make errors. You can all make mistakes. And employment for me has been a way to like, oh, you thought this was this, so it's the truth is, what made me see these people for how capable of being full of shit is sometimes it's like as I record them, I'm like, you are capable of making up something like that I'm recording. You're so okay to venture off from reality that even while these things is being recorded, while you show me something that's completely wrong, just because you are so focused onto discrediting me, you've discredited yourself. It's been like, I can't even believe it. It's not even about making mistakes. That's what's normal here. That's human. It's to try to make up things to that level. And I've been recording this conversation with this person. I'm like, I can't even believe it. And I sometimes like bait her to see like, is she gonna really come up with some bullshit? And Jesus, it is at a magical scale. I'm like, Jesus, somebody like you who have even no shame to make up something like that doesn't even need to be made up. They want me to subscribe to what you think this program is and what it's not, like, and cover up what it's not doing, and think I'm going to subscribe to that. This woman will get hers, just like whoever participated, and maybe she got a taste of it already, and I'm sure more is coming. But it's not about her. She just got involved in something that was already happening. I think what she has given is like an example. It's like, you see how the world works. Listen, a lot of these perps are not believer in karma or God, or, which is okay. I'm not here to preach religion, but the things I've seen happening for me, it just makes me more of a believer. Now, by doing what I'm doing, by putting the faces of these clowns wanting to recreate reality in a certain way, they are so craving a sufferance of my end, which I'm like, I was going to suffer either way. Bad things was going to happen to me, just like bad things that happen to these people, the most vulnerable. So you think I was going to endure that and let you leave that fantasy that you are something that does not harm even children, while painting yourself as this justice seeker? No. I have accepted the sad truth about what's happening to me. I'm a target individual with V2K and synthetic telepathy. My mind and my body is no longer mine in the sense of how I'm being manipulated. Freedom of thoughts, freedom of experiences is no longer even happening. Meaning that I'm being so manipulated that I have accepted that, Jesus. Because for me, the manipulation, like many target individuals with V2K synthetic telepathy, are just so obvious. Not only obvious, but meant to be tormenting, that it's clear that you're being manipulated. Some of the manipulation can be subtle. You think a certain way, and then or you realize, oh my gosh, they will make me think this way because it's the wrong way. Or maybe make me go drink something, like something that's just that you won't even know. But then they do the typical tormenting manipulation that torments you and meant you to break you down. You hear this noise campaign, you hear all these things this is not by chance. They do that to try to gaslight me. This is their brainwashing tactics. And it's going to happen like that for the rest of my life. As you can see, I'm becoming stronger and able to handle that. You heard noise campaign, you heard slamming on the doors, and they would try to create mental battles. Because for me, as I showed many in my videos, this is the typical things they do. I see children, they force me to get stimulation. This funny part is like when sometimes they try to have these mental battles. Oh, little boys are real, little girls little girls is the real experience. It's not a manipulation, it's a mapping. They use verbiage that's so obvious of people who can just kind of utilize language in a way that cover up the reality and the facade. It was so disgusting. Listen, target individual, you know that participant come in of all walk of life. It's not just thugs. It's not just like corporate people. It's not just men. It's not just women. It's not just like even adults, child participants or childlike participants involve themselves. You know that. The best part is when you see themselves hyping themselves up to paint themselves like, oh, we won, we get you, going to this event. And matter of fact, with me, they say things like, it's justice. This is poetic justice. I'm like, oh, okay. The worst part is how they expect the target individual to become this idiot. Yeah. So this is poetic justice. When you hear children being tortured is sadness, it's not fairness. No. Target individual where being manipulated is degrading. For example, for me, every time I see children, they force me to get experiences. This is one example. It's so sad. A kid that started crying, and it's hard to tell if this kid is a boy or girl. And so they'll try to mess with me because this little girl looks like a boy. And they're like, oh, and they'll try to mess with me. It's like, oh, but look at the chest. At this age, there's no chest. There's children are children. And this kid looked more like a boy with braids. Let me show you this poor baby. She's like crying because I think she's competing and forcing me to get stimulation. As I'm looking at her, they're trying to give me more stimulation. And they'll try to create mental battles like, oh, it's a boy, it's a girl. It's like, and the reason why this mental battle happens is because I have pictures with me with a boy that was the son of this brother of somebody I used to date, and you can see the contrast. Like, okay, well, before I was being manipulated in this way, before August 19, 2019, you see me holding this child. There's none of this, and they're like, oh, boys is this, girls is this. Right? And truth is, they forced me to get these experiences. And I will never experience that. This is a sad. I will definitely want to watch this video. This poor kid is just crying because she's probably lost a competition, and things like that. Is just the wholesome type of content that we would love to watch. But unfortunately, that's not the case today, because I'm being degraded in these disgusting ways. And so for me, as I'm saying that, even as speaking, they want me to grab myself, and I can feel like an urge that they try to create to do this thing. I'm like, I know this is because my brain is for them to play with. This revving of the cars and all that is part of these tactics. And that's the unfair part of this program. You are no longer human beings with their own experience. But the job of these clowns around you are those contracted losers, the government contract. But not around you, your co-workers. This ecosystem target individual stays strong. You know who you are. A lot of us target individual are forced to get these disgusting experiences. These perps around you are contracted, are dedicated, are committed to make sure that you get this experience, but not only get this experience, but to make you experience that and then make you accept this manipulation as if they're not doing that to you, to attack your mind this way. A lot of who you see are nobodies. Even the co-workers that you work with, have people at a level, higher level, directors, they participate. But for me, it is being so obvious that, you're so compromised, and it follows the industry you're in. But a lot of employer will participate in that, and it doesn't have to be in the industry that's currently employing me. Matter of fact, who put me in this program is not in this industry. But this current employer is somebody that you understand why they want to be involved in it. And it's not because this thing is something that protects children. And to see these clowns putting so much effort to just kind of Jedi mind trick you to believe this thing, I was like, go F yourself. But I'll put that in your face. Because you know that I will never internalize these things. And I know very well that me having whatever experience when I see these children consists of the way you attack my mind. Now, the best part is like, oh, nobody believes you. They believe us. Like, oh, gosh. So they will believe that this program you're going to hear and you've heard that can harm children this way, that can torture children physically the way you're going to hear, sexually the way you're going to hear, and mentally the way you're going to hear. and have done that to target individuals where they rewire the brain this way, who have pushed people to lose their mind and kill in masses. For me, conveniently enough, they're not doing what they've done to other target individuals, are now a program that protects children. And this is how they want me to rationalize this. They always bring up, and there was a grown man who looked at me and it's like, yeah, you just pay for what you did as a child. They were trying to exaggerate what I did as a child to make me accept who did as an adult. Seeing this child and experience these experiences. But in fact, there's a woman who looked at me and she's like, yeah, you so deserve it. It's like, what do you deserve? For trying to dumb me down and dumb yourself down in the same process. In something that you know, little girls even younger than her, every day are suffering, are crying, are in anguish, and your response that you want. Dude, that's the most response. I hate that response because I'm like, you want what? You won't be accountable to be involved in something that does that to children? Yes, I know that. Some woman was even saying, I'll forget. Forget what? That you got involved in a program where you think there's somebody involved in a program where children even younger than her can be put in this program where they go through anguish, suffering every day. But a grown man who's been me long enough will think that what you're doing to me, you, somebody who won't be accountable for joining something where you know children are being tortured, and have flipped this around and make it look like this is something that protects children. And then on top of that, take away the level of compromisability that you, in your industry, has been known to be in. Listen, if I get fired tomorrow and I get no employment, they'll do the same thing. Before I got employed by them, everybody was already, like when I was interviewing others, they were showing signs that they're going to partake in this. So I know once you put in this program, wherever you end up being employed, whoever is around you, there will be neighbors, co-workers, everywhere you go doing these things to you. Where they're going to do noise campaign, they're going to slam doors, they're going to honk, they're going to have their dog bark. This is what happens to target individual. And I have understood that the second I start finding out about target individual. I initially thought it was just happening to me. I knew I was being manipulated. But it has become so much of a pattern of how they torture children. Of how they torture target individual, I should say. The psychological torture has been a theme that's been consistent. Not even the way they manipulate the brain, but also how they paint the target individual. This thing here, when you hear this noise campaign, I don't think my camera or my microphone on my camera is capturing the noise campaign that's happening outside, right? Their job is to disorient me, right? You can tell that this is a tactical, psychological, tormenting tactic. You are being rewired, but not only they are rewiring you to torment you, to push you to suicide, but they want you to internalize this. I will never internalize this. I know that this is how I'm going to be tortured psychologically, and there'll be other tortures that are non-psychological. I get it, but the psychological torture is the worst. But they're taking advantage of whatever incentive that can make them benefit from this. Whatever financial benefits. And for me, the industry that I'm in is like, oh my gosh, the benefits that's financial is extremely high. I mean, you can be the most wholesome, ethical individual in that industry, given the chance to be involved in something that can utilize human beings in this fashion. They should say you get tested. The incentives are so strong that it's clear why you want to partake in this. And then they try to kind of normalize this. You know how the way they want me to think, oh, use just poetic justice. Oh yeah, okay. This is coming from people who are compromised. That's why compromised people start rationalizing things. Like, oh, that's not fair. Sometimes they don't even know what to say. It's not fair. It's not fair we torture children. It's not fair that this program that happens to be a program that we don't know, that we're not really in, this different portal is doing that to children. And for me, it's been easy, and I've been appreciating the fact that I've become this wise person, which the truth is, common sense, it's been stripped away. That's a sense of nonsensicalness. And they use the facade of, like, let me look. Sometimes they look at me, it's like, yeah, I want. I was like, what? You want what? You are part of this thing that tortured children. I was in a meeting. This woman stand up and just like, it's like I was supposed to like look at me, like with me, my presence. Can you believe this? It's like, yes. You standing up, wanting me to see you. You know very well that this level of manipulation is what you like to do to target individual, that you even involve in something where children younger than her are suffering. You know very well that they live in anguish and suffering. And you're going to go back and be the great mother that you are. You're going to go back and live your life like nothing is wrong, because you know that these things in your mind has been something that's normal. When in reality, you know that you're now a compromised individual. And I've been in some work, and sometimes they do the manipulation, and you can see them looking at me. It's like, oh my gosh, and they usually have like some kind of device, from a phone, a laptop, and they look like they're just assessing. I'm like, fuck you, because all you're assessing is how you're gonna try to make me accept this little theatric. Some of them don't even know how to read. If they don't, let me just say, they know how to read the room, but they purposely stop reading the room, because they think they can override reality by behaving, by being theatrical. You start watching people utilizing psychology in this diabolical way to make you internalize this. Now, thank you, God has given this, let's just say, I'm a person who can rub people the wrong way, and I can easily go against the grain. Give me a reason why, I'll go out against all the grains. I don't mind being alone. I don't try, like some people you can see they are really cult-based, group thinking at the highest level. Some of them are more into that. The worst are like this teenage trash. When the childish individual, they feel like their whole life being, their purpose is to just do their best to make it look like they know what they're part of. The best part is when I see who sometimes praise them to go the extra mile, when you see how compromisable they are. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're being praised by people who would be the number one compromisable people. Matter of fact, it's so bad. Let me just say this. I was making a video about it, and before this came up. Listen, we all know that in the past, the governmental entities like the CIA have worked on technology or worked on programs to be able to control the mind. This is not conspiracy theory. There was something called MK Ultra. It was really, really strong effort from the CIA to understand how they can be able to control the mind. This was so long. It was in the 60s and 70s. It was exposed. Once exposed, they found out, and the CIA tried to get rid of a lot of that. Today, you cannot say, oh, MK Ultra is a conspiracy theory. No. It was a true event, a true program that these governmental entities was working on figure out how to control people's mind. Now, that was in days where technology was very limited. And even then, some of who come up and start thinking about being accountable for that spoke up. For example, if you go to, and you don't need to go to that, but for example, there was colleges, university involved in that. And they mentioned some of the other industry that were privately owned or industry that are not governmental that was involved in this. in the 60s and then 70s, you'll find the industry that I'm currently employed by after being a target individual mention the industry. I'm not saying the company, but the industry. That industry was called out, and and you can see why they would be participating in that at the time. First of all, the financial benefits, but also, what they can get out of it, the data, the results. So today, seeing them being involved in that, it's not a surprise, especially from this industry. The surprise is like they try to mix it because maybe in the 60s and the 70s, this was not maybe the most diverse, but even university were involved where there was participants from university. Now today, that same industry be like, oh, we're just daring. I was like, hey, there's been data, historical data of these daring behaviors from the past. So really, it's not daring, it's just aligned with a cultural unethicalness that is keep coming up. But they mix it up with a psychological tactic to try to gaslight you. These women just like act like, oh, we're doing it for our children. Yeah, right. So they want you to look at them as like, we're just so daring that even though what we involved in and this thing that you put in is hurting children, for you, we're not even manipulating you this way. We're just making you pay for all the wrongs and then try to find things. The worst is when they bring up me as a child. I'm like, you the idiot. What a child is capable of doing, and then seeing grown men and women behaving like, oh, a child can, the wrong of a child, the inappropriateness of a child is comparable to grown-ass men and women, some of them with children. Being so enraged that they get involved in things where children younger than their own children are suffering in. And more validation of those abuses and tortures comes out to the light and are put in their face. Now they contract these losers who think that, oh, don't think about how we abuse children. Think about the stupid thing you did to yourself as a child. I'm like, you think I'm going to let that happen? You think that you're going to make me accept this manipulation? Tell me that it's linked to you as a child, like a grown man, a grown adult's brain is comparable to a child. Then somehow able to erase the abuses that I listen to every day of children, inclusive of sexual torture, to let you paint your fantasy because you made a few noise campaign. Oh, that's an easy, righteous thing for me to just stand up and be like, never. Oh no, you're gonna be accountable for what you're involved in. You know you abuse children and women in this program. Babies like this are in this program suffering every day, anguishing every day, seizuring every day, tortured every day. Do you think your immaturity is gonna cover that up? And then you calling yourself daring, that's fate for you. It's like, okay, that's fate that you got involved in a program where children younger than her is being tortured. What does it mean about you? What you deserve? Matter of fact, it gets as far as that they try to they take pride in negating the abuses and suffering and torture of these children. And I love to put that in their faces. They're like, oh, we're gonna cut your testicles. Like, I don't care about my testicles, but I do care that people who torture children think they can cover that up, make themselves sound fierce, and talk about what's deserving. I can do for this baby suffering this program, never. But to those who think they have been able to cover that up, they're gonna make the mistake of the century. When I see my coworkers and they talk to me like that, and the way they behave, right? It's really truly is amazing how they really think people can, and maybe it works for some people, but I can't say for me. I see through it so easily. And it doesn't take a genius. They're so enraged. Oh, yeah, we'll pay. I was like, yeah, you thought that your fake rage, that rage that you're harnessing, it was going to overwhelm me to the point where I forget the everyday torture of children and women. These abuses of children where you even psychologically torture them by forcing them to dream like that. Oh, Lord. Oh, God, thank you for giving me a purpose. I'll put that in your face. You'll see. Children like HF, a 3-year-old toddler, I say that name all the time. Why? Because she's a representative of how torturous it can be to children. And the best part is, the best way to disperse reality, guess who they utilize the worst in regard of gaslighting? Those who have the best ability to live in a non-reality world. There's so many childlike participants that think that their childishness will can cover up this evilness that they know they're part of. Then encouraged by people who are praising them for their consistent effort in negating the horrible things to children. I don't need to be a genius. I love when sometimes they're like, oh, you're such a con man. I'm like, oh my goodness. That backfires so badly. So badly. It has backfire. So they used to be like, oh, you're such a con because I'm able to articulate this. Like, oh my gosh. When I record these people, in the midst of saying the biggest BS, listen, I'm not saying people saying something by mistake is wrong. Of course, we can all say the wrong thing. But the level of, they're saying that to try to fool you. Me recording them and seeing how they're just switching reality in real time. Being exposed of how they can purposely try to recreate reality. Not because they mistakenly say something. We all can do that. But putting effort of just recreating reality. And when I'm employed, I'm listening to these people because as I'm being employed, they didn't employ me to boost my career. No. They employ me to participate in that, gain the benefit from participating in a program where human subjects can be very beneficial, the incentive they can get from that. And then, of course, throw me away. But I'm already thrown away. They just, let me just squeeze whatever we can out of him as a test subject. But the backfire consists of when you see them at work, employed, not making mistake. That's not the issue. We all gonna make mistake. But putting effort to, I guess, make you look like the one who is incompetent, failing at your job, and you realize, oh my goodness, you look now incompetent because they do these things, even if it's by mistake, but then try to flip around because the whole goal was to make me look like the one that was incompetent. See how they recreate reality. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is even a prime example of how full of shit you are. So imagine a program where you are here frying the shit out of the children's life, destroying their brain. They can't even grow up to be normal. But the rage somehow is just boxed out, and you're like, pace, you, a little girl. I was like, yeah, shit. For all the little girls suffering in this program, what you deserve is not even something I can speak up about. You don't even deserve to die for that. You deserve a life of just continuously things coming back and get to you. Dying is the minimum from what this purpose deserves, especially these horrible things that they've been covering up. And for me, internalizing this manipulation, people who can have children have sexual dreams. In a program where they do that to mothers toward their own children. Do I look like somebody who can even give you that? But You should hear the effort they put in this. They go through the little scripts and find things there, this and that's. Like, no, first of all, you're involved in a program where they do harm of the private party. It's molesting. Using advanced technology, you're going to hear that. Sexually torturing toddlers, younger than this child. Sending this trash around you to try to cover that up. Using it's funny, it's all about psychological game. And when I say it's funny the fact that the effort that you can clearly see, the way they really try hard, you can tell. It's hilarious. It's comical. They can tell me everything I'm going to experience because that's what this program can design for the target visual to experience. Your whole life is orchestrated. They tell you everything about what's going to happen to you. For example, the words I said, hilarious, effort. The thing earlier today, I was hearing them saying, but I was in meetings with them and hearing them saying some nonsensical things was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what you love it. It's so easy to tell what you enjoy this fake rage you have is because you want to love this thing even more without take accountability what it means for you to be involved in this. Okay. I didn't have a purpose. This is the pedophilia type of torture they force onto us target visual. What I'm experiencing. You're going to hear they do that. They play with people's brain. Some of these perps have lost their mind. Some of the target visual have lost their mind and killed perps, or who they believe were perps, killing next door neighbors. As I'm speaking right now, these neighbors saying random things like "you'll serve, you'll do this and that" because they tell me they're gonna frame me with children. Can you imagine? They're gonna frame me saying that they're gonna implant child porn. They're gonna frame me, tell me they have children gonna act like they got raped. You know, everything that shows that how they protect children. A target video called Steve Marlowe murdered next door neighbors, inclusive of a 15-year-old kid. Talk about a pattern. What I just described to you right now. You're going to hear men who literally did something that is resembling in regard to what's happening to him, to what I'm saying right now. Neighbors participating. Co-workers participating. It's surreal. Then before he goes and kills the neighbors, say exactly what I'm saying here. Oh, target visual, your mind can be manipulated. I'm doing this to expose the reality of what's happening here. I want to go to trial. So when they ask me what this is happening, is because I am being tormented in this fashion. I'm doing this to expose what's happening. And I want to let the target visual TI know that you are being manipulated in this fashion. I'm going to murder these people next door. I'm going to execute these people next door to expose what is happening. This weapon is being applied and doing the worst to us. He killed a 15-year-old neighbor in her kitchen. You're going to see this man who did that. You think that this man will be capable of doing that? No, because he was just tormented to that point. Now, I'm not praising that. I'm not praising that. I'm not endorsing that, but I'm saying that this is what caused people to do this. You're going to hear another one killing 12. Aaron Alexis, we all know him. You're going to hear men who say like your mind and your body is no longer yours. It's like you're being controlled by an asshole. I'm going to give you a snippet of what some of my coworkers talk. They love to talk about the children, and every time they talk about the children, guess what I'm experiencing? This nasty manipulation. The words they use to try to counter the word manipulation is like, no, we're mapping, we're mining. Now you're manipulating my brain to experience this stimulation. However this is manipulated and altered is applied to my brain to experience degrading experiences. Then they use the old school brainwashing, the whole ecosystem that's supposed to intimidate me into accepting this. It's going to be like that for the rest of my life in this program. A lot of us are going to end up just being there for a long time, maybe to our last breath. I'm not saying that to demoralize anybody. Target visual, stay strong, fight till the end. But I've accepted the reality of what I mean. I have to face that reality for what it is, and understand that when I face this purpose, they'll have to face the reality of what they're part of, and it's not going to be none of this bubble fantasized reality. It's going to be based on reality. Now, I understand most of this purpose I'm going to face, the bottom fears in this whole thing. Let it be the co-workers, or let it be these neighbors. But things are falling into their faces in a way that's just amazing. Those co-workers compromise us. I can't, like, it feels like a book from, or it feels like a movie where what industry could be involved in this? That is not governmental. What industry will be involved in a governmental program where human beings can be utilized? Let's trace back to the MK Ultra days when it was exposed that the government was using human beings as test subject to see if they can control their mind and learn how to control their mind. You'll see that industry in that. You're going to see the colleges, the university. Princeton accepted that they were one of the university that was in it. There was professors, I guess, so in that. That's in the 60s. They also said, hey, there was people in this industry and in this industry. Currently was employed by them. Easy call. Now, I stand with other target individual consist of women and children, saying this is happening to men, women, and children. I say that I knew that this suffering I'm going through is not unique to me, but it's happening to men, women, and children all around the world. And found out in America, it's just they're speaking up. And with time, more validation, more child torture, more child abuse, more child torment, more child destruction has been exposed. More validation that target individuals are being pushed into a state of insanity where they're pushed to suicide, or even worse, mass shootings. Making it clear that I'm doing this act here, this crash out, because I'm being manipulated and I'm going after the people who I believe participate in this. Now, is that going to stop what they're doing to me? Never. I've accepted that because this is a governmental program. It's bigger than the little clowns that are here doing these things. If they get tired of it, somebody will come and help. Not help, but do their job. With me, I love the way they're like, yeah, we'll persist. It's like, you don't have a choice. You don't have to persist. Somebody will come and do the job for you then. They wanted me to be so idiotic. It's like, oh, it's because we're so strong-minded. No, trash, this is part of the program. You're tired? Do something else. Don't worry, we'll replace you. This is not your fantasized portal. For me, they're like, it's a bubble, it's a portal that is a program and this technology. You're going to be tortured this way because we don't torture children. It's like, yeah, right. This man that are going to do these things to me are involved. They can do that to women. You want to hear the horrible things these women are going through? How they're getting raped? Some women are some women who are target individual, unfortunately, start believing that, oh my gosh, whoever is participating in that is ran by women. But it's run by the government. The government has no gender, no race, no nothing. They just have their incentive. The incentive is to use human beings as guinea pigs and develop a technology that's being weaponized to torment us and to whatever else benefit they can get out of it. Now, this never will subscribe to that. They were trying to make me look at her chest and this and that, and just miss, like, yeah, because they were trying to make me think if this is a boy or girl, because you know this child can look like she's a boy and crying. Maybe it's because she's crying like that, but it's a baby. I will never ever have these experiences, but today, that's what they do. Now it's funny how today these people who employs me want me to they tell me they're gonna sue me. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, please do. Dig that hole even further. Dig that hole even further. Show the world how obvious this thing is. Listen, who destroyed my life, I know who they are. And they're not here in New York City, but I know the influence in this governmental world is really high. Every once in a while, I say things to show them, it's like, I know that you really, really just participating, being an opportunist, and I use the word opportunity, to be involved in something that will benefit you in so many ways, especially financially. And not because you protect children. You know the horror of what happens to children in this program. Matter of fact, that is why these manipulations are happening. Because as you enjoy this program that can do all these things to human beings, play with them like they're toys, you just don't want to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh my gosh, we're just using human beings in this way. So what they do, it's like, oh, these people pedophile. When in reality, the pedophile is actually the people who are behind this. And and let me just not even call them the pedophile. Let's just say pedophilia seems to be a greater of an issue, or is an issue, in who's behind this. And these people are involving themselves in a program where pedophilia is utilized to torment target individual, and they do activities and harm to children that is pedophilia centric, sexually torturing children, harming genitals of children, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 4-year-olds, and even sexually forcing children to have sexual dreams. This is atrociousness that is so disgusting. Listen, you hear about third world country where they torture, kill, cause mass shooting, weaponized rapes. But here, with this program, it does the same thing using very modern tactics. Obviously, sometimes they use and I was told the same thing, with you, we're going to torture you the classical way. I'm like, wow, not the modern way that you're known to be doing things, which consists of torturing, burning, raping, and doing all these things using the no-touch torture. Sometimes they do this the touch way. Sometimes women are raped. Are trafficked and raped. Women that go in places where they thought they're going to be safe are actually put in states where they're no longer conscious. They have random people raping them. And it's usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, and in some cases, those women claim that who facilitate this to happen are perps who are female gendered. And let me just say this. They don't claim these people are like monstrous looking women. No. People that they can trust, or they believe they can trust. Even organizations that specialize into like the protection of women. Anti-women violence. Anti-women sexual violence. Because this is a governmental program where this level of diabolism has been normalized. And they don't see target individuals as human beings, but as just toys. That even women can be treated this way, even children. So I will never let them leave their fantasy. So I know my brain is going like that. They can play with my brain. And then for me, because they want to show how they're, and it's funny, I had a call today, and I could even get when I was listening to this guy try to come, because I called out a mistake, which is okay. Listen, I'm never gonna be the one say you say the wrong thing in regard of like how, especially at work. It's okay. The reason why I say that is because usually these people try to be like, oh, you're and this guy he has no like self awareness. He keeps saying this very stupid thing sometimes, but every time I say something, I feel like, oh, you're so fired. I'm like, oh my goodness, you just heard what you just said. So I'm in the meeting with this guy and others around, and he said something so completely the opposite of what actually happened. I was shocked. Like, oh wait, no. Actually, it's the opposite. This happened this way and this way. And he started using different verbiage. He started saying, oh, but actually when you think about the macro, I'm like, Jesus. I don't know if he said that word because maybe I'm going to hear it later, but he was trying to basically sound He was just trying to cover up what he just said was completely the opposite, and try to use a language to sound. I'm like, that's exactly what they do with me with these manipulations. Like, oh, we're mapping, or mining. Let me just say what actually is happening here. They have mapped your brain signals. They have mined your brain signals to be able to alter your brain signals. So to be able to manipulate you, they do map your brain. They do map your brain signals so they can know, okay, if we do this and that, we can make you experience what we want you to experience. That's what mapping is in this case. They are mapping your brain so they can know how to alter your brain to experience the design experiences that's supposed to degrade you. They've mined your brain signal so they can now create the brain signals that are going to make you experience what they want you to experience. Now, it doesn't take a genius. I'm not that smart to be like, oh, no. But they thought that they could use like a little bit of a verbiage twist to make you experience that. So sometimes they're like, oh, we paired it. This is the dumbest thing. It's like, oh, we're making you feel a feeling that you could have felt. It's like, no, you are changing my brain to experience something that will make me have a degrading experience. If you tell me that you're pairing a feeling of stimulation, that stimulation will not experience unless you're changing my brain to pair to a sexual stimulation. And they really want you to go with this stupidity. You are designing, you are altering, you are changing my brain, however it's done, for me to experience that. Because if you don't do that, that will not happen. You're toying with my brain. Whatever way you have to have me have this experience. Because you want to torture me in this tormenting way. And this tortures, this psychological torture is what they do to others. Now, enough of me talking. One thing is for sure. It doesn't take a genius to see a pattern of what they do. And then to see who's that compromisable. And it's funny, it's like, yeah, no, it's your pattern. No, you try to create patterns. They make me have this experience all the time. It's like, pattern. It's like, no, it's like me. Every time something comes, I do something. Let me just say this. It's like me, for example, every time something, I move something to the left. It's not even at the left, it's at the right or somewhere else. I move it there all the time. I move it there. It's like, oh, I'm seeing a pattern. This thing is always at the left. When I'm the one who putting that all the time. Pattern. Pattern. Hey, this is always at the left. I see it somewhere else. Oh, pattern. And they want me to be like, you see? And try to Jedi mind trick you into accepting this. Now, let me show you what's the true pattern. The pattern of painting target individual like they're pedophiles. Let me show you. I don't know this person. I've never talked to this person. This is the lawyer called Anna Toledero, I think, or something like that. She's a lawyer that has been fighting for target individual. She has been talking to a lot of target individual. Let me show you an obvious pattern. Never said anything to her, but she calls out that a way they like to defame target individual, paint the target individual, is this way. Never talk to this person, never interacted with this person, but she says this.
Throw these people at them to terrorize. But fusion centers, they really don't have like a statutory authority. They just popped up after 9/11, and that's where a lot of people that have absolutely no idea of civics believe that it's okay. They are told, oh, this person is a terrorist or this person is a pedophile, because that's another thing that they do with targeted individuals. And so they throw these people at them to terrorize and, follow them and just do all sorts of, or slash their tires, do horrible things, .
Why would she randomly say that? Because target individuals say these things, that they try to paint us in this fashion. You see how easy it is to see a theme here? Do you want to hear another pattern here? Target individual are saying they're being manipulated. We want to give you how often this level of manipulation. Let's just start with the less aggressive patterns. Those who didn't crash out. Let's start with somebody like a Robert Duncan who wrote books about target individual after interviewing many. I've never talked to this person. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But things like that being said,
in quality eugenics program, but also walk them to their. They want to see if they can hyper game theory. How do you? They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define the probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control the brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of patterns. Like this disgusting thing. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and of human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds, and vice versa.
FYI, what you just heard is from the audio version of what Dr. Robert Duncan wrote, I think in 2014, before me even knowing about being a target individual. Interviewing 1,000 target individuals and creating a list of what's the typical tortures and torments target individual experience. Basically, creating a list of typical experiences being forced onto the target individual, showing a pattern of the things target individual experience after interviewing 1,000.
They use these monarch style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you, they're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target.
It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance.
By the way, who you gonna hear here? Her name is Mariana Moritado. If you're a target individual, you probably heard her testimonial. It's one of the most viewed testimonials of all target individual. And the word,
This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams. And
when you hear me say the pedophilia type of torture, I'm using that. The level of patterns is surreal. As I'm saying that, you hear noise campaign and they try to do this disgusting thing. By the way, I'm holding this phone. As I'm holding the phone, my forearm is against my pelvic area. Every time it feels the crotch area of my pants is just fabric. They give me stimulation and like, oh, you see, you want to hit your not your forearm but your external forearm because you want to feel stimulation. And every time I hit it accidentally, just the fabric, the fabric, they try to be like, oh, that's proof. And you hear the noise campaign? This is the pattern. They do this noise campaign, disorienting things to try to gaslight you. Remember that woman who said they throw these people at you? Those are the people they throw at you. Now, you want to hear how crazy this thing is? Those are next door neighbors, right? You hear them being all theatrical? It's part of the trickery.
We're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satans. So they'll say we're the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satans, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
So
You hear this? I'm supposed to be distracted by these theatrics to make me think that this is anything but this massive government that's doing that to men, women, and children. Do you want to hear some more extreme things? You hear these people, hopefully. I don't know if it's captured well. As you hear the noise campaign, those are coming from neighbors. Listen to how this is coming from information about somebody called Steve Marlowe. In 2022, he ended up killing next door neighbors because of this.
Who is charged with a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, that you can pull for your writing analysis. Key delusional beliefs. He believed he was a targeted in... I can't give you the full manifesto itself.
You hear them? Listen to this. That's the theatrics. You hear that? They talk about
who is
firing
charged with a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, that you can pull for your writing analysis. Key delusional beliefs. He believed he was a targeted in... I can't give you the full manifesto itself, but I can walk you through what's in it and what kinds of delusions it shows. Here's a structured summary based on court-described excerpts and reporting. Number 1. Overall context. Stephen Marlowe is accused of a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, August 2022. In the months before the shootings, he wrote a long manifesto describing what he believed was happening to him mentally and spiritually. And the Dayton Daily News, psychologists and the court treat this manifesto as evidence of entrenched delusional beliefs, not of anything real. Number 2, core delusional themes. A, global terror network and targeted individual. In the manifesto, he claims he is the victim of a global terror network that attacks people using advanced psychological telepathic methods. Dayton Daily News, key elements of that belief. He sees himself as a targeted individual, someone singled out for mind control abuse. X, formerly Twitter, ordinary people around him, neighbors, possibly co-workers.
I hope you can hear some of the noise that was being done outside. The theatrics to cover this up,
etc., are reinterpreted as part of this network. B, telepathic ventriloquism. This is the phrase you picked up on. In the manifesto and related descriptions, he says attackers use telepathic ventriloquism to project voices and thoughts into his mind. Dayton Daily News, he believes his thoughts are not private. Others can speak through him, like a ventriloquist using a dummy. The voices can manipulate his emotions, impulses, and decisions. This fits clinical patterns of thought insertion, belief that thoughts are being put into your mind by an outside force, auditory hallucinations reframed as telepathy, delusions of control, believing one's actions or feelings are being controlled by others. C, neighbours as sleeper agents. He fixates on people near his parents' home. He claims that some neighbours are part of the terror network, and if
some of the things that was being yelled outside, they tell me how I'm going to be feasted. By neighbors, by the way. There's no pattern here, right?
Effectively, sleeper agents used to harass or attack him telepathically. Dayton Daily News, the victims of the shooting, who had no normal conflict-type relationship with him, get cast in his mind as key perpetrators in this invisible conspiracy. The stream of abuse and psychological impact. He describes his experience as a constant, inescapable stream of verbal and emotional abuse through the voices. He writes that it is impossible to just ignore the voices and that there is no defense, no stopping it. Dayton Daily News, he links this to the collapse of his trading career, ruined relationships.
Now, what you're about to hear is what he did to the neighbors. It's going to be gruesome. But that's the reality of what they've pushed these men to do. You heard the noise campaign in the hallways.
Here's a summary of the known facts about how Stephen Marlowe allegedly carried out the killings of the victims, as publicly reported. Some details remain unclear or under investigation. What we do know, the incident occurred on August 5th, 2022 in the Butler Township near Dayton, Ohio. Dayton door victims were Sarah Anderson, age 41, Dayton Daily News. Her daughter, Kayla Anderson, age 15, Dayton Daily News. Clyde Knox, age 82, Dayton Daily News. His wife, Sally Knox, 78, Dayton Daily News. Marlowe lived nearby with his parents on Haverstraw Avenue, and the victims were his neighbours. Dayton Daily News. Police found the victims fatally shot at multiple crime scenes in a residential area. ABC News. In video evidence introduced in court, one scene shows Marlowe walking up with a gun in his hand towards Sarah Anderson, who was on the phone, then shooting her. He walked into the home where Kayla Anderson was and shot her. He then exited via the garage and fired a second shot at Sarah while she was on the ground. WIO TV7 and W8YO Radio. After the shootings, Marlowe fled the state. He was later captured in Kansas.
Okay. By the way, as this is Sarah, etc., they try to rewind my thoughts in different ways. The pattern doesn't end here. Now, you want to hear what this man sounds like? What he said before he did what you just heard? And you can hear these people in the hallways try to cover up this obvious pattern.
I could not have asked for a better family. What you cannot comprehend is that we have been attacked by this weapon our entire lives, and the attack against me personally is one of the most vicious attacks a human being has ever faced. I have tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. Our thoughts are not private. It is disgusting and it is cruel. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters.
Like the neighbors.
If I happen to survive, please visit me in prison, if only to see the same man you have always known, rather than the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist. What you may not understand is that I will gladly die to expose this, and I will gladly die to help one other victim discover the truth of what has happened. If I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your
thoughts. That's what he wants to expose.
But your thoughts can also move their mouths. To my friends in Chicago, Lexington, Dayton, and all over the world, get this email out to everyone you know. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings, and if you ever learn the truth, you will understand.
Is there a pattern? Oh, you think this is the only mention like that? And you keep hearing people in the hallways try to negate that. Let me show you what pattern is. This is a little while ago, 2011 or 14, I'm not sure. As I'm saying that, they try to gaslight me, but this sounds familiar too.
A number of carbons, including gun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carbons, including "End to the torment," "Better off this way," and my ELF weapon. Alexis had been
who is charged with a
subject to for the last 3 months.
Thoughts and fear.
By the way, you heard some kid scream. I don't know if you captured that. She screamed, whatever child screamed, and they gave me stimulation, which I suppose to think that a child screaming like that should naturally make me experience that. But the reason why they do that is this.
Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters.
Does it sound familiar? Maybe that was a little too much of an aggressive pattern. Listen to this man who didn't kill in masses, but says these things.
Thought insertion.
Duty.
The things that are being said right now to negate this.
Thought insertion, memory manipulation, memory insertion. Feel like your mind and your body is not yours, just being controlled by some asshole. Your emotions, everything, and you would see that street theater, noise campaigns, voice to skull. They do a pretty good job of intertwining everything. But to an outsider's...
Did you hear noise campaign? Did you hear dogs barking? Did you hear people yelling? I don't know if this camera was able to capture that. Like in real time. Oh, let me just show you what he ends up saying here.
Humiliation too. Humiliation. Rituals, whatever. Embarrassment. I have no idea why they do what they do. It's just whatever. And these thoughts, these fucking disgusting ass thoughts. And if you're a target individual, you know what I'm talking about these thoughts that are being fucking inserted into your head. It's disgusting.
Does that sound familiar? I don't know this person. Actually, I've been making videos before he made videos. Now, also they were trying to be like, oh, children and then pay. You want to hear how evil these people can be to children. You've heard these testimonials. I love to put that in their faces because these people talk about what I deserve. I'm involved in something that does this, as they manipulate my brain. You see what a pattern is here. Matter of fact, you got the chance to see that while this is happening.
Throw these people at the...
Remember this? The next door neighbors? Remember that man who killed?
One guy believed it was some 13-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery
Steve Marlowe killed a 15-year-old living next door.
really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government.
As I'm saying that they try to create mental battles, bringing up things from college, and now listen to these people who just try to cover up how harmful they can be to even children.
Could do this.
Listen to this woman, you've heard.
That's Catherine Nestor.
This is in 2011. Bioethics. A mother comes in front. She said, a target individual. She said, me and my young child, this is what's happening.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And
this is in 2011. Now listen to a testimonial of this famous target individual called Mariana Maritado, who I think the recording was in 2018. I think it was published in 2019. This is what she's dealing with now with the student that she teaches. So that was 2011, now 2018.
Affected of all of my clients. I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy session. Her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe.
That was in 2018. 2019. Listen to this woman, this black woman, who described what is happening to her and her children.
And have had
Yeah. So, you know, we've spoken a few times. I'm going through the same thing. Our situations are a little different. So I have the full-blown artificial telepathy. You're definitely receiving broadcasts because I've seen it in your photos. And, you know, isn't it strange that sometimes you could feel some type of way that's not your feelings?
Yeah. They do that a lot. Can project anger, fear, and weird feelings. They can do pretty much anything that has access to the brain or to the mind.
Right.
Not just me. I have children, and so my children are able to say certain things, like they can feel certain things.
Right.
Zaps on their body.
Okay, this is a lawsuit that initially was filed in 2023 against governmental entities such as the DOJ, inclusive of the FBI and other entities. And in 2024, in the petition that was going to the Supreme Court, they included some additional information where you're going to hear specifically a 3-year-old toddler being one of the plaintiffs. The child of who you're going to hear is Devin Fraley's 3-year-old toddler. As I'm saying that, I'm carefully plugging the phone because everything I do is going to be rewired in these disgusting ways. Listen to the plaintiff, the mother, the torture, which goes as very commonly utilized sexual torture, then the 3-year-old toddler. 2024.
Yes, here's a filing grounded reportive case file summary of Devin Delaney Fraley and HF, with specific places you can verify each point in the accessible appellate petition materials, which reproduce key parts of the operative complaint. I'm going to rely most heavily on the Supreme Court appendix because it includes the relevant complaint excerpts verbatim, including the Fraley HF paragraphs, and is publicly accessible. 1. Where Fraley and HF appear across the litigation record. A district court complaint excerpts in the Supreme Court appendix. The Supreme Court appendix contains the complaint section titled Devin Delaney Fraley and the follow-on paragraphs about HF starting immediately after that heading. B. Fifth Circuit Appeal, March 8, 2024. The Fifth Circuit opinion caption lists Devin Delaney Fraley and HF among the plaintiff's appellants. Notably, it labels JD and LM as a minor, but does not print a minor after HF in that caption line. C. Supreme Court Petition, July 23, 2024. The petition's petitioner list includes Devin Delaney Fraley and then separately lists HF a minor. It also includes a note explaining that after an amended complaint was filed, the minor daughter of petitioner Fraley was added as a claimant. Number 2, Fraley's allegations, what she claims happened to her. In the complaint excerpt, as reproduced in the appendix, Fraley alleges in substance she was included in a TSDB subcategory, NS McCarthy blacklist, without notice and without an opportunity to rebut. She alleges she has suffered physical, electronic surveillance and organised stalking as part of being targeted. She alleges that around 2016, her targeting increased and she began experiencing artificial tinnitus and V2K continuously. She alleges directed energy weapon DW attacks causing burns, including to her feet and genital area. She alleges the DW attacks caused symptoms she characterizes as indicative of Havana syndrome, described as permanent brain and physical injuries. She alleges social, professional, personal repercussions, including suffering, anxiety, and loss, and requests remedies including removal from the TSDB and damages. That is the core Fraley-specific symptom set and theory as pled in the excerpted complaint text. 3. HF's allegations, what Fraley claims happened to the child. In the same reproduced complaint excerpt, the filing describes HF as Fraley's daughter and a toddler, specifically referred to as 3-year-old. The text uses 3-year-old daughters, but the context is HF as the single minor plaintiff child. The allegations about the child's symptoms are described as, after the filing of the complaint, HF allegedly began showing signs of DVTK, and because she is incapable of verbalizing, Fraley says she inferred symptoms through behavioral changes, including irritability, slamming her head against the floor, extremely high body temperature upon waking, among others. The allegations about ongoing harm include alleged irritability, anguish, sweating, pain, and suffering every day, with asserted unknown damages to the child's developing brain.
You see a trend here with how they protect children? Or it doesn't, it can get worse, and that's this woman who helped file this lawsuit in the podcast said this thing about these children.
To children, they're implanting children with atrocious dreams, many of them of a sexual nature. And it's just a...
You see the psychological torture they can even apply toward children.
Guys, and we have children as young as 3 years old that are hearing voices. They have implanted dreams, very violent and some in sexual nature. So,
So then being employed, and as I'm being employed, and see the image of some of the mean things they can be doing to women and to men, and unfortunately even children. Those are faces of people. Now, they do horrible things to children, and this is a program that's not here protecting children. And they manipulate the brain in these degrading ways to while they participate in what they can do to target individual. Sometimes, for me, they want to paint themselves as protective of children, when in reality, they just want to fully enjoy what they're part of. Oh, they want me to think that what's happening to my brain is they paired it to my brain around that age. This is a snippet of a man talking about his child that currently employs me. As he was talking about it, they were giving me stimulation sensation, which even the recording they try to change, like he's like instead of like when you say okay, okay, they're like like something. The voices are morphed, but
she wasn't, didn't have high fever or anything. Didn't really, didn't have.
Talking about his child and all that, about the same age of the kids that you heard being tortured. He's involved in something like that. And want me to identify with this nasty manipulation. Throughout me making this, my elbow every time it hits like part of like my pelvic, like, oh, you see, you want to create stimulations. That's why I will never subscribe to this. I was going to show like the child again and show like this is what they want me to subscribe to. It was so disgusting, so nasty. And to wrap it up, even the famous image, they were trying to do this, and I was looking it up in regard of like what's the name of the famous Vietnam War picture of the famous picture that just showed the horror of the war in Vietnam in this whatever years it was, the Vietnam War, when there was like a picture of this kid crying, this little girl naked, crying, screaming, that's very popular in the sense of like everybody knows because it's horrible. And she was running in the street naked, crying, asking for help. Because they were making me imagine that's like, oh, you were stimulated by that. Thinking about, it's like, so sad. This sad picture of a poor child going through hell. As I'm looking at, okay, what's the name of the ChatGPT was about to like create an image. I'm like, oh, I don't even want to see it. Like, and they're like, oh, you want to see that because that's gonna be child porn. They've been telling me they're gonna play child porn. That's the image of this poor 9-year-old, which I think they called it the Nepal girl. I think they used Nepal bombs to burn the village she was in. Basically, that picture was the reason why people were against the war. And this kid was just running naked, asking for help. They're like, yeah, that's child porn. It's disgusting trash. And you hear these clowns doing the noise campaign to try to gaslight me, just creating this version of reality. Like, me just stay strong. And understand that these clowns are there to just break you down. Know who you are. But you see a pattern here. In real time, you could hear the noise campaign of what they do. And apparently there's no pattern here. These people are clearly protectors of children. When they were saying etc. Sarah is just the way they just go into my brain, bring up the things they put together, so it can counter the testimonials of some women talk about the different sexual torture, or even the fact that this man killed a woman who was a neighbor, who was a 41-year-old mother, who he ended up actually killing even a child, the 15-year-old. And her name is Sarah. It's like, oh, Sarah, for the things they created. As I'm trying to do this, they try to mess with me. And then give you an example of some of the trashiness that lives around me. Dealing with this. Hello? Yeah, the top tier? Yeah. Is that when they start knocking on the door? Yeah. Yeah. Ok. Elle veut toujours nous parler un peu, elle peut essayer de s'approcher. Ok. Et ok, top tier. Ok. Vas-y, ose. Ok. Yeah. He just got here, but he didn't knock on the door. I wonder what happened. Was there something else here? Yeah, okay, I'm busy. Okay. J'avais commandé un type d'un PC web. There's some clowns next door to me. They tell me they're gonna frame me with. By the way, I have my charging cord, and it was just laying like on my pelvic area. They were doing this disgusting manipulation. Like, oh, you see, that's what you. This is the level of manipulation that I'm supposed to think that I'm not being manipulated to experience. So I can just stay strong. But I will never allow this low life live the fantasy to my last breath. All these opportunities will be seen for the opportunities that they are. Had they conveniently recreate reality to make it convenient for them to enjoy what they want to enjoy. Stay strong.